Okay, let's try it again. Second time's the chart? I don't know. I guess we'll see. All right, let me share this live link out though. We'll see. Try that out. All right, let's see. Yo, is my voice echoey or do I kind of sound like an angel? I need to know. I went live before. My voice was echoey. Why is it echoing? TikTok, what have you done to me? Okay, let me do some damage control here. Let me see what's going on. Oh, that's why. Okay. How about now? Is it echoing? Is this good now? Okay. It's because TikTok turned back on my webcam speaker or the webcam mic. So nice, doing good. You would think a guy who works in IT would be better at it, but you know what? Who's counting? I mean, come on now. All right. So Ari, you said the YouTube sounded good, so that's good because that's going to be the recording that I use after this. So let's dive into it. Nice. Okay, so as you can see, November 2nd, I'm trying something new with the chat here. And that's primarily so when we look back at the video, all the lovely feedback that you get when I'm reading sticks with the video. We'll see how it goes. I'll be reading 2 books tonight. I'll be starting with Stolen by A.R. Kyo and Lost Souls Recovered, which Eric sent me his book right here. So I'll be reading this from the book. Thank you very much, Eric. This was my first book mail, and I appreciate it. I'm at chapter 44, or sorry, chapter 44. Page 44 of this right now. I'm really enjoying it. For the reading of his, I'll be reading chapter 1. And for AR, for Ari, I believe you said this is from chapter 6. Yeah, chapter 6. So a reading from chapter 6. Very excited. So before we begin, I did do a preliminary reading of, well, I didn't read this one today because I've already read through chapter 1. But I did do a preliminary reading of Stolen, and it is very good. I'm very hooked by this chapter already. So, I don't know the overarching on this one. I didn't get a chance to go back to my website and read your blurb, but you know, I'll get back to that. I do know. I'll have to kind of skirt my way around this. I actually know what for ARs, I'll just read it straight out. There's a little bit of cursing. TikTok might get a little upset, but there's nothing too graphic in this. It's okay. But yes, for I don't want to give too much away. I'll just get into the reading. It's very intense. So to start, let me go ahead, throw up the background for Ari. I'm gonna get my ugly mug out of the way. And yeah, I'll just get to this reading. Oh, and sorry, disclaimer before I read this. This is all from a female perspective. There are multiple females talking in this. I apologize in advance for how this will go. I'll do my best. If any of these girls sound the same, I mean, I got nothing for that. I'll do my best to try and separate them. without going a little over the top. I do better with like my cartoon comic-y voices, but I'll do my best. All right, anyways, without further ado, here we go. Now I stand alone. Meg had come over to talk to me, but I don't feel like talking at the moment. She is now standing with Sam and John. Rhea is in the pack house with the twins, not letting them see the quiet chaos that is happening. The other young women, ages ranging from 18 to 25, come over and stand by me. All of them are looking at me for answers I cannot give them. Elle, Rachel, a girl I went to school with, steps closer to me. I look at her, seeing the fear in her eyes. What's going on? Why is this happening? Shrugging, I meet all of their questioning looks one at a time. I don't know. I wish I did. I sigh. All I know is that if my dad refused, we'd be in the middle of a fight. Closing my eyes, I remember what my father had told me. Hopefully he doesn't see anyone he likes the looks of and moves on. I open my eyes and see them all nodding. Another voice comes from the crowd that has formed around me. We can do this. Who knows? Maybe he won't be that bad if he's looking for a mate. They all murmur in agreement, but I can't help but wonder that if this alpha needs to have all the unmated she-wolves lined up to pick from, he must be an asshole. Dad walks over to us. All right, form a line. His voice is grave. He doesn't want to be doing this. He looks at me. Stay in line. Keep your eyes down, and for God's sake, Eleanor, keep your mouth shut. I blink in surprise. What? Grabbing my chin, he forces me to look at him. You're going to see him inspect your packmates. It's going to piss you off. He's going to want to look all of you over. Closing his eyes, he takes a deep breath, regaining control of his emotions. Just don't do anything to draw attention to yourself. He lets go of my face and walks over to John, who is standing where I assume this alpha Drake will be showing himself. Even with all the people here, it's silent, like they're all holding their breath. Everyone's heads turn when the sound of tires on gravel breaks the silence. A large black SUV pulls up beside where my father and John stand. The door opens and a tall, muscular man steps out. I wasn't expecting this guy to be good-looking at all. Considering he has to force packs to allow him to check out their women for a potential mate, I was expecting someone much uglier. Drake walks over towards my father. Well, strut would be a better description. He's arrogant, that's for sure. He has dirty blonde hair, and his eyes seem light. They must be blue. Drake looks down the line of women. Is this all you have, Roman? He laughs. Kind of a sorry bunch, aren't they? He's trying to provoke a reaction from my dad, but it doesn't work. With a face showing no emotion, my dad steps forward. Let's get this over with, Drake. Drake nods and begins walking down the line, stopping to look longer at some. He reaches out to one girl and strokes her hair. Another, he touches her face and skims his hand down her throat. She whimpers, shrinking down, trying to make herself look smaller. He grabs her hair and pulls her back up. What's the matter, sweetheart? He sneers. You've never been touched by a man before? I want to snarl. I want to push him off of her. I feel my lips start to curl. My dad steps forward, forcing his way in between Drake and the girl. You're not here to antagonize and harass my pack, Drake. Drake's face remains in a sneer for a moment as he stares at the girl. Then he looks at my father, a smile forming on his lips. You're right. He lets the girl go and she steps back in line, holding on to herself because she's shaking so hard. I apologize, Roman, he says, though there's no remorse in his face or voice. Dad walks back to where he was before he intervened. Drake continues down the line, keeping his hands to himself, for the most part. This asshole needs to hurry up and get the fuck out of here. Drake stops 2 girls down from me. You. He points at her. She's petite and has red hair. Step forward. She complies, stepping out of line, keeping her eyes down. Drake circles her, looking her up and down. What's your name? Naomi? She stammers out. It's barely more than a whisper. Drake laughs. Can you speak? It doesn't matter. For what I have in mind, you won't be able to talk. She cringes away from him, and low growls come from the crowd. We all know what he was insinuating. It makes my skin crawl. He makes my skin crawl. I can feel the anger brewing inside of me, wanting to lash out. Placing his hand on his chin, he stops circling her. You know, I can't really see what you look like with that hoodie on and all. He reaches out, and in a fluid movement, he unzips her hoodie. She's wearing only a tank top underneath, leaving not much to the imagination. She's exposed. Naomi crosses her arms, trying to cover herself, pulling on her sweatshirt. Stop! Please! She's crying. He just laughs at her. I see red. No, this asshole isn't getting away with this. I see my dad shout something, but I can't hear it. Blood pounding in my ears, I step out of the line. Enough! I yell. Drake turns to look at me, and my dad stops mid-stride. I walk toward Drake and Naomi, getting right in Drake's face. I say it again. Enough! He shoves Naomi away from him. Get out of here, he sneers. She stumbles past the line of women and runs to her family, sobbing and holding on to them. Drake turns back to me, his blue eyes cold as ice piercing into mine, trying to make me look away. Well, well, what do we have here? He glances me up and down. A bitch who doesn't know her place in front of an alpha? I know my place. It's making sure assholes like you don't harass my pack mates. I refuse to back down, not to this bully. He backhands me, sending me stumbling. I spit out blood. When I look up, I see my dad start to charge Drake. Fuck, this isn't good. He tackles Drake, both falling to the ground. 2 of Drake's men grab my dad and hold him back. Looking around, I see more of his men holding everyone at gunpoint, keeping them from helping my dad. They're alpha. Holy fuck. They came armed? What is this? Drake gets up from the ground. Looking to make sure his attacker is held, he walks over to me. Grabbing my hair, he yanks my head back and tilts my face to his. What's your name, sweetheart? Eleanor. I wince in pain. Drake sees this and pulls tighter. As I cry out in pain, his smile widens. He's enjoying this. Taking his other hand, he runs his thumb over my mouth. Tell me, Eleanor, why would your alpha risk attacking me for you? It could have started something that would have ended bloody, and he knows that. He glances at my father, who's struggling against the 2 men holding him back. I'm his daughter, I spit out. He lets go of my hair, and I feel relief immediately. I look at my father. He's stopped struggling now that Drake has let me go. Drake glances at him, then brings his icy stare back to me. Interesting. Roman, why didn't you tell me you had such an... He pauses, his eyes roving over my body. Exquisite daughter. My dad growls. Drake steps closer to me, so we're almost touching. He pushes my hair back behind my shoulder. You are beautiful, Eleanor. But I must say, it's hard to tell what you really look like with that shirt on. It covers too much. He yanks on my shirt, which sends the buttons popping in all directions. All that's covering me is my bra. That's a little better, he says, his hands touching my breast. Don't fucking touch me, I snarl, wrenching out of his touch and punching him in the face. His stance falters and he steps back. Emotions flit on his face, shock, rage, and then something I can't read. Amusement, maybe? Leaning toward me, Drake grabs me by the back of the neck and throws me to the ground. Holding me there, he bends down. Do you give up? Do you submit, sweetheart? He asks me, his breath right on my cheek. Struggling against him, I turn my head and spit in his face. Never. Wiping my saliva with his sleeve, a grin splits his lips, the grin of a predator who just caught his prey and is about to enjoy the meal. Grabbing a fistful of my hair again, he shoves my face into the dirt. Drake gets in my face again. I'm gonna enjoy it, you know. Breathing heavily, I turn to look at him. Enjoy what? He chuckles. Beating the fight out of you, he whispers. I lie still, his words sending chills down my spine. No, he can't choose me. He stands, hauling me up with him. Well, Roman, I've made my decision. Drake stands in front of my dad. No! Dad headbutts Drake, knowing what Drake was going to say. The men who are holding my dad restrain him again. Drake wipes the blood from his face, his nose broken, and then punches my dad in the stomach. Sam and John are both trying to get through the men holding them back, growling profanities. But it's hard for them to do anything when there are guns pointed at them, and they know their mates are at stake. You're going to tell me no, Roman? Huh, it doesn't matter what you tell me. I will have everyone in this pack slaughtered in front of your eyes, and then I'll kill you slowly. After you watch every one of your pack members die. Friends, loved ones, women, children. He grins and punches my dad in his stomach, making him double over. And then I'll still take her, mate her, fuck her, and beat her, until everything that makes her your daughter isn't there anymore. He raises his fist to assault my father again. I can't take it anymore. I know he's not bluffing. He'll kill everyone here and still take me. He's calculated every move he has made. He knows there's no way our pack could win this fight. He made sure he outnumbered us. God, I don't want to do this. Stop! I wrap my hand around his arm before he can give my dad another blow. Please, stop. Drake looks at me. I'll go with you. I'll be your mate. Just please stop and don't hurt anyone else. He stares at me, bewildered. He wasn't expecting me to do this. He was expecting a fight. He looks around. If this is a trick, Al, it's not a trick. I cut him off. I'll go with you, but I have some conditions. He cocks an eyebrow. What are your conditions? Crossing his arms over his chest, he glares at me. I don't let him intimidate me, staring him in the eyes as I approach him. You don't hurt anyone in this pack again. He sighs as if this is the most boring conversation he's had. I want your word, Alpha Drake, that you will leave this pack alone. No hurting anyone, and no killing anyone. We stare at each other for a long time. Finally, Drake inclines his head. You have my word, sweetheart. If you come with me, I won't attack your precious little pack. We shake hands, and he pulls me into his chest. You are mine now, he whispers in my ear, sending chills down my spine. What have I done? Drake throws me to the ground in front of my dad, who is now unrestrained. I glance around to see Drake's men moving back to their vehicles. You have 15 minutes to say goodbye. Then you're getting in that car, even if I have to drag you. He walks away to talk to one of his men. Dad, I cry as he pulls me into his arms. The reality of everything is hitting me now. What have you done, Elle? He chokes out, pulling me back, are pulling back. He holds my face in his hands. You didn't have to do that. He was going to kill you, Dad. And everyone else, too. Tasting the salt from my tears on my tongue, I add, he would have taken me anyway. This was the only way to save the pack. He wipes my tears with his thumb. I lean my face into his palm. Taking a deep breath, I look into his eyes. An alpha sometimes has to do things they don't want to, especially when it keeps the pack safe. I quote what he told me a few days ago in regards to killing Reef. I did what I had to do. He pulls me in for another hug, holding me like he did when I was a child. Looking over his shoulder, I see Meg crying, holding onto Sam like he's the only thing holding her up. We've become so close in just a few short days. I'm going to miss her. I let go of my dad and walk over to them. She lets go of Sam and throws herself at me. You're such a fool, Elle, she sobs. Such a fucking fool. What were you thinking? I'll miss you too, Meg. I clear my throat, cries starting to catch in it. Take care of Sam, and visit with Connie. She'll get lonely without me bugging her every day. She chuckles a little and nods, not able to form words. Sam looks at us. I pry away from Meg and hug him. My first best friend, my confidant, the man who was supposed to stand by my side as my beta. I'll miss you, Sam, I say. Oh, Elle. He hugs me tight. I realize it's the last Sam hug I'll ever have. The thought breaks my wall and the tears flood out. Take care of my dad, will you? I ask. Make sure he's okay after this. Sam just nods. Thanks, I say, and I run back to my dad. I don't know how much time I have left. Not much, maybe a few minutes. John gives me a quick hug. Stay strong, kid. Thanks, John. I'll try. He leaves us to go stand with Meg and Sam. I told you to keep quiet, Elle, Dad huffs. I couldn't let him do that to her, humiliate her like that. I had to do something. I know you did, Elle. Hugging him again because I know I'm never going to see him again, I let myself go and let the tears come through. Sam's your next alpha now. He'll be a good one, Dad. I know it. I pull back and look at him, and he nods. Okay, good. Glad I got a say in one more pack matter. I turn to look for Drake. He's still talking to one of his men. I have a few more minutes. Listen to me, Elle, Dad says, pulling my attention back to him. He's going to want to break you. Don't let him. I won't, Dad. I'll fight. Dad shakes his head. No, Elle, that's what he wants. He wants you to fight. You want me to submit? What the fuck? I want you to survive. He kisses the top of my head. I love you, Elle. Behind me now, Drake grabs my arm. Time's up, he says, and pulls me towards his car. Wait! I break free from his grasp and hug my father one last time. I love you too. Letting go, I walk back to Drake. He takes my arm again and pushes me into the back seat, sliding in behind me. The engine roars to life, and we head down the road. I watch out the window as my childhood home passes by. All right. There you go, Chapter 6 from Stolen by A.R. Kyo. And I gotta say, I think it is very well done. It's phenomenal. Ari, I think that was a great chapter. Lots of emotions, very tense. I really liked it. I'm very interested in it, and it's it's not even my style, but you know, the characters that I got to read in that scene were just very fun, very well put together, and just seemed like they'd be fun to kind of go on a journey with and see where it goes. But Yeah, I saw a bunch of comments going out there. I was trying not to focus on them, kind of blinking in the side of my vision, but it seemed like you were getting a lot of good reviews. I haven't gone back through the comments. I'll wait until afterwards. I usually look at them when I look at the video back, but it seemed like a lot of people were enjoying it, so I'm happy. I mean, well deserved. Thank you very much. All right. I'm now going to switch this over to Eric Walker with his book, Lost Souls Recovered. And as I said, I've been reading through this. I'm a slow reader. Plus, I mean, as many of you guys know, I'm also working through Ollie's book and Sean's book and Madeline's book and Margaret's book. I got a lot going on with the books and the arc reads and stuff like that. But I am slowly working through each one. So far, as I said, I'm on about page 44 with this one. That's where I've got my little marker. And it's very enjoyable so far, but I figured a good place to start is just chapter 1. Since I wasn't, Eric didn't give me a good location to read, and I didn't want to read ahead and risk spoiling anything. So I read this when he sent it to me a couple weeks ago, so I apologize if I fumble over any words, as always. But yeah, we'll dive into it. Let me go ahead and once again get my ugly mug out of the way and try and do this. This one will be a little bit different because I am flipping through pages, so there might be like little pauses. But yeah, let's do it. So this is chapter 1, Spring 1887. Even with the war a little more than 2 decades in the past, John was a virtual slave, chained to the people who'd once legally owned his mother. At 17, and his youth pulling at him to go, to explore, to find a woman, he hankered to break the chain and go elsewhere, anywhere that wasn't Richmond. But thoughts of leaving his saintly mother kept the chain in place. His mother would die of a broken heart if he told her about what Madame Laura Billingsley had made him do a few years back. Laura had figured he wouldn't tell a soul, surely not his mother, and certainly not Monsieur Tyrone Billingsley. Laura had been right. He hated the suffocating mental cage Madame Billingsley caused him to live in. She had taken away his freedom to even tell a secret to his mother. As much as he wanted to mute the voices in his head telling him to kill Madame Billingsley, the voices lingered. He stood, one spring evening in the butler's pantry, and poured imported sherry into 2 teardrop sherry glasses, as he had done so many times. He could pour exactly 3 ounces of sherry into each glass with his eyes closed, without spilling a drop. John was a lean 5'11" tall. He had short, wavy, raven black hair, russet copper-tinted eyes, a mahogany-colored face, full lips, and a slightly bent nose that sat atop a strong jaw. Tyrone Billingsley demanded that John be turned out in fine clothes when he worked in the house, or when he took Billingsley to town. So this evening, he wore the usual attire. A white shirt with a stiff standing collar, a black vest that closed almost at the throat, thereby almost covering his tie, a short black waist jacket that exposed his shirt cuffs, black breeches, and black lace shoes. It was almost dinner time at the Billingsleys' mansion, also known as Billingsley. Torrential rain had enveloped Richmond for 5 consecutive days. The crop fields, cleared by former slave labor, had turned into bogs. Laura stood in front of the oversized rondel dining room window, her right hand pressed against it. She felt the window vibrate as the hail and rain pelted it. She looked at the leaden sky and wondered if the window, and all the windows in her mansion, would protect her and her expensive furnishings from the relentless barrage of water sent from above. She saw in the reflection when Tyrone sat at the dining table. Then she drew the heavy, ornate blue velvet curtains and joined him at the other end. Just the 2 of them. The Billingsley estate was large, both the house and the 300 acres of surrounding land. The house was an 8,000 square foot, 25-room Greek revival house, characterized by Dorian pillars that wrapped around it. Intricate wrought iron gates connected the pillars on the second-floor portico. The long entranceway leading to the front of Billingsley was adorned with live oak trees that were arranged symmetrically on each side. Sprawling gardens and landscaping contained 24 flower beds and 20 different kinds of trees. Seemingly endless walkways formed a maze. A heavily adorned pergola stood at the rear of the massive botanical garden. Laura had been known to lose herself in the gardens after an argument with her husband. When the last of the Billingsley children had moved out several years ago, Tyrone Billingsley had decided to reduce his kitchen staff, expecting that he and Laura could get by with one cook. Laura had protested, believing that her society friends would whisper that something was wrong with the Billingsleys, that they were depleting their money. Tyrone had won that battle, but Laura knew when to keep her powder dry and when to strike with a full frontal assault. Her husband had felt it many times before, as had Sam, John, Anne, and anyone else in her line of fire. Sam, the Billingsleys' longtime cook, had prepared one of Laura's favorite dishes for the evening, lobster cutlet, a pastry shell filled with a timbale of black grouse and a chestnut puree, spring lamb, and Johnny cake. The Billingsleys often had a bracer before their meal. Today was no different. The sherry aperitif would be served at 6:30 and was their custom when Tyrone was in town. A maraschino cherry sorbet would be served at the end of the meal to refresh the palate. John's stomach gurgled, and his hands felt heavy as he prepared to serve dinner to the Billingsleys. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath to exorcise all images of what Laura had done to him a few years ago, and to slow the heart rate as much as he could. He stood ramrod straight, picked up the salver that held the Billingsley sherry aperitif, and walked gingerly into the dining room. He surveyed the dining table set up, hoping, praying, that he had set the table pieces to Madame Billingsley's satisfaction. She was persnickety, and the icy matron of the house. Everything was in place, and John's heartbeat returned to its normal rhythm. A thunderclap startled him, causing him to stop in his tracks. Horrible images of Laura resurfaced. His heartbeat quickened again, and his mouth went dry, anticipating some kind of rebuke from her, his perfect table setup notwithstanding. A corner of the ornate Persian rug on which the dining table sat was curled up. John failed to notice it, tripped, and spilled the drink on the Ice Queen. She shot him a 3-second basilisk stare, then screamed, "You stupid idiot!" As she used her white, monogrammed linen napkin in an effort to dry the amber stain from the lace on her pink satin polonaise, John said, "I'm sorry, Madame Billingsley." She raised her head from her dress, and John suffered through the same stare that could stop a charging bull in its tracks. He thought he had gotten used to Madame Billingsley's obliques. But this time they stung hard, penetrating the fortress he'd erected around himself to deflect her fusillade of contemptuous sniping. She had managed, though, to intensify his hatred for her. "Laura, it was an accident," Tyrone said. Laura rose up from her chair in a huff, paused to steady herself from John's mishap, and hurried over to look in the Louis XV gilt-framed mirror, which hung above the Louis XV-styled birch sideboard. She turned and eyed Tyrone. John watched the amber-colored stain on her dress expand in size. She stormed out of the dining room and ran up the garish, sweeping walnut-paneled staircase, hurried to the master bedroom, and slammed the door. Tyrone took in a mouthful of grouse, then suddenly dropped his fork. The clank from the fork startled John, who was cleaning the table of the wreckage from the spilled sherry. John looked into Tyrone's stoic gaze. "I'm sorry, sir. I didn't see the carpet was out of place." Tyrone looked at the rug and nodded. Laura stood in front of the cheval in her bedroom and removed her corset with the assistance of her servant, Emmeline, or Auntie Em, as Laura's children referred to her. Laura was a petite woman with Victorian pale skin and long flaxen-colored hair, which she often kept in a stylish chignon netted in a black velvet. She was fastidious about her... Sorry about this. I apologize. She was fastidious about her coiffure and had an on-call coiffeuse, although she had a curvilinear shape that had caused men to ogle when she was younger. She'd begun to fill out the last of her 4 children. She had begun to fill out after the last of her 4 children moved out. She allowed her expensive clothes to camouflage her amorphous shape. Tyrone opened the stately oak bedroom door and walked in. Laura was in the walk-in closet where she had stockpiled her expensive, hot attire. Godey's Lady Book, Harper's Bazaar, and the Delineator kept her abreast of the latest fashions. Her wardrobe was replete with the finest silks, wools, and cottons. She had dresses for each occasion, day, afternoon, evening, and formal. Her clothes were needed for the bon ton who visited her. When robed in her togs, she exuded authority that exceeded her physical stature. After making Tyrone wait for a sufficient amount of time, she walked out of the closet. His behavior was most unacceptable. I want that sprat out of here. I don't trust him. Arms folded, she looked at Tyrone through narrow eyes, waiting for him to spill out the right answer. My dear, it was an accident. She tightened her folded arms as if to wait for the right answer. Tyrone stood his ground. For God's sake, just let it go. That boy does fine work around here. Besides, I owe it to Anne to keep him here. And if I were to dismiss him, who'd serve you as well as that boy? He's smart. He does what he's told. Her anger flared hot. She drew herself up even more stiffly and shouted a harsh retort. I don't give a damn! She paused to let Tyrone feel her words. He shook his head but said nothing. She continued. Stop defending that insolent boy. I mean it. She turned around to see Emmeline holding her black pelisse with both arms outstretched, mutely asking if she would like to try it on. Laura liked wearing her haughty attire, even if for a moment. Although Laura didn't care if Emmeline heard her use disparaging language when referring to a Negro, Emmeline managed to escape such degrading remarks. Even after the war, Laura still considered Emmeline her property, for which she deserved some protection. Although the irony was not lost on Tyrone, he didn't say anything. He had learned to live with it. Laura loathed that Tyrone had always been so paternalistic with his slaves and the ones who were his present workers. She thought he was too nice for his own good, failing to understand the immutable law of nature that separated the gentry from the untouchables, the mudsills. John's shift finally ended, giving him a reprieve from Laura's painful disdain. He changed into his tattered togs, placing his work attire in a wardrobe reserved for the house servants. He stepped out the back door and quickly felt the driving rain on his face. He returned to the house and retrieved a mackintosh from the servant's closet and donned it. He cut through the Billingley's soggy wooden botanical garden in the back of the estate, jumped a small wooden fence, and with anger fueling him, he sprinted a quarter of a mile to get home. That's the end of chapter 1, and I greatly apologize. I forgot that some of the words were in there, and I had meant to go back to make sure I was pronouncing them correctly. So, Eric, I apologize for that, but still, I really like the opening chapter and how it builds the characters and the tension that exists in the household. And I'm not going to speak too much to spoil anything further. I do like how you're building the story. So, very well done. I'm very excited to continue reading this. Oh, whoops. Let me get the webcam back up here. But yeah, so far this is a very well done book. And yeah, I'm only 44 pages in. I'm slowly working my way through. But yeah, fantastic writing. And hats off to you. Well, usually I wear a hat, but hats off to you, sir. Anyways, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and catch up on some of the chats I saw popping up here. very nice. Yeah, right there at the end. Yeah, very nice books. I agree, Eli. Very good books. Both of them. I'm happy to have this one. Um, Stolen. I can't remember. Ari is Stolen out? Because if it is, I think I'll pick up a copy. Add it to my never-ending to be read list. Pulling up the website right now. Give me a second. And Eric and Ari, since you guys are in the chat, I just want to let you know that on atlascreedauthor.com, on the author live reading section, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll see the previous readings. And I have added your books up there. Let me pull up a display capture right here so I can just kind of demonstrate real quick. And which one am I looking for? This one. There we go. Okay. Let me just kind of make this up to size real quick. Cover my face here. So here on my website, if you go right up to the top right here, author live reading, scroll all the way down at the bottom, you can see the calendar as well. Your guys' site is up, and yeah, Stolen is out, so I'll make sure I pick up a copy. So I've got both of your books right here with the blurbs you guys sent me, the information you sent me. Each one has a link to where you can purchase the books or support the authors. Highly recommend following both on social medias, picking up the books if you enjoyed what you read. Uh-oh, hold on. I'm seeing comments. Let me go ahead and close that out. You want my perspective on how, because of the video. You know what? That is another book that I'm supposed to be reading and haven't read past the first chapter. I'll read them and I'll get my opinion in there on how you guys did. I'll try to be nicer from here on out, otherwise face the wrath of the ladies of Book Talk. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah, I will work my way through all of the books. I mean, I don't know what to say. Every week I've sat down and I've read one of you guys' works, and it always puts me to shame. I really can't. I don't know why I'm still writing. I'll just sit here and read your guys' books. That'll be good enough. But yeah, every week I read one of these, do one of these live readings. The books that I read are just phenomenal. I really appreciate you guys, self-publishing, being out here doing this writing thing, and just putting these amazing stories out there. And I really hope that I'm going to try and bring in more readers, but I really hope that we get some more readers in here and encourage them to purchase these amazing books and support you guys, because this is really fantastic. Yeah, we really are. But yeah, I mean, it's like I usually do pretty good until I get to the Thursday live readings, and I take like a break for the rest of Thursday and Friday. I'm just get back into my zone, because I'm not competing with this. It's just not going to happen. Now, especially with the first draft that you get too. Let me go back to this promo chart. But as you can see with each picture that I had up, I've got the TikTok handle. But even if you don't follow them on TikTok, if you want to follow them on other social medias, go to my website. As I said, the link there usually takes, for most people, they give me like a link tree or their website directly, or something that'll lead you to where all of their social media platforms are. Follow them on everything you have, show your support that way. And you can always do it like free supports if you can't afford the book, is always to like, comment posts, share them with other people, share the link around. And yeah, absolutely. There should be a link, a little share icon. It's like a little arrow that pops up. Just click that and you can share this. I have gone and shared out with some of the Discord servers that we're on, just to make sure we bring in some other authors to try and support this. But I am trying to bring in more readers. I think I'll make a post later this week to try and get some more readers in here. And just as a reminder, for Eric and Ari, what I am going to do is this is going to be on YouTube, so the full reading of both of your books will be on YouTube. I'll add that full reading, I will section out your pieces of the reading under your books. If I go back to, I think I got rid of that window capture. Yeah, I did. If I went back to last week's, and I still have to go back and re-record for first week's, I just put your reading section under your book. So anybody that wants to go back and hear what they missed, they can always go to my website and view that YouTube video where I cut out just your snippet and put it on YouTube. So you feel free to take that if you want, share it. If you would like me to send you a version of this, they're usually pretty big files, but just DM me or email me, and I'll send you the files. It'll usually be like in a Google Drive link or Dropbox links or something like that. But yeah, if anybody is curious, if they want a sample of your book and maybe don't want to pick up a book to read and just want to hear it, by all means, send them the link to the YouTube, or send them to my website to view the YouTube link underneath your blurb and the link to purchase your books. And, like I said, I only hope that I can, at the very least, bring you a new reader. Hopefully bring you many more new readers and new supporters. So nothing else to say. I really appreciate that. This was a really good week. Thank you both for trusting me to promote your material and read your books. And I'm going to cut it here short so that anybody that wants to can catch the Between the Pages live. For anybody who's not already following Sean Amick, go follow him. He also supports a lot of indie authors with his Between the Pages podcast. He does live interviews and such. If you are an author and you want to get interviewed, by all means, he's got a link in his link tree to sign up on his calendar for an interview, and go there and help support as much as you can. All right, guys. That's it for tonight. I really appreciate it. Thank you all. You guys have a good night. Bye.